Hi, everybody, and welcome. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Rachel O'Mara, and I'm really excited to host today our speaker, Neil Pasricha. A few things about Neil before we jump in. So Neil Pasricha is the New York Times best-selling author of the Book of Awesome series, which has been published in 10 countries and spent over 5 years on bestseller lists and sold over 1 million copies. The Book of Awesome was based on his blog, 1,000 Awesome Things, which has scored over 50 million hits and twice won the Webby Award for Best Blog in the World. That's pretty good. Pasricha is a Harvard MBA, one of the most popular TED speakers of all time, and today serves as director of the Institute for Global Happiness. Previously, he spent a decade running leadership development inside Walmart, the world's largest company. Neil has created global leadership programs for many Fortune 50 companies and has spoken to hundreds of thousands of people around the globe. His work has been featured by CNN, BBC, TED, The Today Show, and The Sunday Times. So I'm very excited to present and introduce Neil. Today he shares his new book, The Happiness Equation. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rachel. I appreciate that. Thanks, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Yeah, feeling good? What a joy this is to be at Google today. This is just a nice delight for me. You guys work here, so it's not maybe special every day, but for me, coming down the highway, pulling into this place that I've heard so much about for so many years, it just feels like a bit of a dream come true. I'm so flattered that you invited me to come, so thank you so much for having me. My whole story kind of begins with Google, to be honest with you. A number of years ago, I was going through a really big rough patch in my life. I was in a marriage heading in the wrong direction, and I had a really close friend that was battling mental illness. And in that time, I didn't know where to turn. So I turned to Google, and I typed in how to start a blog, and I pressed I'm feeling lucky. I was like, one of the few times I was feeling lucky. And 10 minutes later, I had started up a tiny website called 1000awesomethings.com, just as a way to put a smile on my face every day before I went to bed. So I'd start coming home from work, and I'd start writing about flipping to the cold side of the pillow in the middle of the night, and I'd press post. And then I'd start writing about hitting a string of green lights when you're late for work, and I'd write a bit about that, and then I'd press post. And then I start writing about getting called up to the dinner buffet first at a wedding, table 76 in the back. You get the meatballs before they're all stuck together and everything. And then I'd press post. And while I started writing this blog, my life got worse. That marriage that was going in the wrong direction ended. And it was really heartbreaking. And what made matters much worse was that my friend who was struggling with mental illness didn't make it. He sadly took his own life. And as I was going through these emotions, and as was his family and all his friends, I found that the blog, 1,000 Awesome Things, became an escape for me. It became therapy for me. It became some place I looked forward to going every day. And as you probably know, 50,000 blogs are started a day, so nobody read this except for my mom. But over time, it grew and grew and grew to the day where it ended up winning awards for best blog in the world, scoring all those millions of hits, and turned into a series of books called the Book of Awesome, Book of Even More Awesome, Book of Holiday Awesome, Journal of Awesome, App of Awesome, 5 Calendars of Awesome. It turned into this awesome thing. And the scary part about all that happening to me, as I was writing this blog, working at Walmart, and writing these books, was I wasn't actually happy. That's actually the hard part about the whole thing, is that the front page of the national newspaper said, Neil is the Pied Piper of happiness. And it was really hard in those interviews to tell people, and I didn't tell people, that I was kind of not very happy on the inside. I'd lost 40 pounds due to stress. People at work were like, you look great. What's your secret? And I was like, no sleep. That's it, just stress. And I was struggling, through a divorce and in a new apartment in a new town, trying to meet new friends. And so for me, I spent a few years getting to number 1 on that blog, posting the last entry in 2012. Number 1. Remember, it's 1,000 awesome things. So I wrote it every day for 4 years, 1,000, till we hit number 1. And then I put the pen down, put the keyboard away, and I stopped writing completely. And I tried to shift myself from the observation of awesome things to what I called in my mind the application of awesome things, like buying a salt and pepper shaker for the first time, buying dishes, doing this new thing, which is really popular, some people do, called cooking, which I'd never really done. Starting online dating, starting to meet new people, like getting out there and trying to live a life, you know? And so I didn't write for a few years, but I did meet someone new. Her name's Leslie. She's a school teacher in Toronto, and we fell in love fast. She baked me a cake on my birthday, you know, and did things that I hadn't had happen in years, and it was just so nice. And we fell in love, we moved in together, we got engaged, we got married, we go on a honeymoon. And on the flight home from that honeymoon, on the plane, she says, you know, I'm not really feeling very well. So on the layover in Malaysia, we go to the pharmacy. She gets back on the plane, she goes to the tiny little airplane bathroom, she comes back to our seats and she says, I'm pregnant. We're about to take off on the tarmac on a 12-hour flight home. By the way, if anyone wants a good secret to scoring a free muffin on an airplane, you just have to tell the flight attendant that you found out you're pregnant right then and there. And all kinds of thoughts and emotions hit me all at once. How many people here are parents? I know there's a lot of people online too. How many people want their kids to be happy? All the same hands, even some that don't have kids, which is amazing. That's incredible. You know, and I was kind of like that, though. It's true. I didn't have kids, but I thought deeply. I was like, but I want them to be happy. That's the thing I know the most. And you know what's crazy, Rachel? I had those 5 years of the blog taking off, the books, the TED Talk, getting invited to speak to royal families and big corporations and CEOs, and I thought to myself, but all those people I met, they aren't happy either. I mean, I'm working for them, I'm seeing them up close, you know, you work right here at Google, you know what I mean? It's not like you just flip a switch and you're successful relative to your family and your peers, but it doesn't mean everyone's just happy. It doesn't just mean that. So we got back home to Toronto, and guess what I did? I opened a Microsoft Word document, and I wrote, in document 1, I wrote, Dear baby, I wanted you to have this in case I didn't have a chance to tell you. Love, Dad. And every single day for the next 9 months, I woke up around 5 a.m. I set my alarm, but I didn't need to. I jumped out of bed. I picked up the pen again for the first time in years, and I eventually wrote a 300-page letter to my unborn child called, eventually, The 9 Secrets to Living a Happy Life. I took together everything I'd learned in research from positive psychology, everything I'd learned from seeing, you know, some of these executives up close, interviewing them, talking to best-selling authors and people on stages, and my own personal experience, what my parents taught me. And I stewed it all together into this 300-page letter. And that 300-page letter is the book you have in your hands today called The Happiness Equation. I'm so excited to share with you that it just came out a few days ago. And if you look at the very bottom of the copyright page in 2-point font, like where the Library of Congress info is, it says, Dear baby, I wanted you to have this in case I didn't have a chance to tell you. Love, Dad. This book is the letter I wrote to my son before he was born, before I knew it was a boy. And now I'm so excited to share it with you. There's 9 secrets in this book, and I know we have, you know, I know how much time we have together. So what I thought I'd ask you is, would you like me to share 3 of them with you today at lunch? Sure. Sound like a good plan? Okay. So, secret number 1. The first thing we must do before we can be happy. My mom is from Nairobi, Kenya. My dad is from Amritsar, India. And they got here to Canada, North America, and they said, Neil, you know, it's really simple. It's really simple. You do great work, right? Then you will have a big success. And then you will be happy. That's how it works. You study really hard, and then you get good grades, and then you're happy. Or you work really hard, and then you get promoted, and then you're happy. That's what my parents beat into me from a young age. It's what we all hear from our parents. Positive psychology, study after study. Things done at Stanford, things done by researchers like Sonia Lipovetsky, Sean Aker, lots of others have actually shown this model's totally backwards. Instead, we now know that if you be happy first, if you choose to be happy, then you do great work. Your productivity goes up 31%, your sales goes up 37%, you're 3 times more creative, and then you have the big success after. Happiness is actually the leading indicator. The model's totally backwards. The 6 important words are flipped. Now, it's one thing to be invited to Google and to just sort of tell everyone, like, hey, cool, everyone got it? You just be happy. That's easy. And then, thanks a lot. Where do I get my free lunch? I heard there's some fancy food here. And then just take off. But of course, it's not that simple. You can't just flip a switch in the morning. You don't just wake up and say, okay, I'm just going to be happy today. Everyone's got good days and bad days. But what do we do? So what do we do? Well, the research suggests that 40% of our happiness, 4 times as much as our circumstances, are actually controlled by intentional activities. I mean things we can do in just 20 minutes a day to actually cultivate our own happiness. So what I want to share with you now is the result of me sifting through over 300 positive psychology studies, and I'm bringing for you what I call the Big 5. These are 5 studies anyone can do in just 20 minutes a day. And if you do it for 20 days in a row, you've cultivated a new happiness habit. So here are the 5. The first one is real simple, and it's perfect on this giant campus. You just go for 3 20-minute walks a week. Penn State researchers have found that exercise has a tremendous impact on your happiness. Professor Michael Babiak and his team showed that a group of people who went on 3 brisk walks a week actually had a higher happiness rating at the end than people on antidepressants and people who were on antidepressants and doing the walking. The exercise group alone outperformed the other 2. For anyone that has a dog late at night that wants to go for a walk, you know what I'm talking about. You don't want to go outside. The last thing you want to do is just sort of get ready and go outside. It's been raining here. You know, last thing I want to do. But when you come back, you are reinvigorated. You are energized. The walking gets you moving and it increases your happiness. Number 2 is called the 20-minute replay. And for this one, it's good, I'm getting some free squats in today. University of Texas researchers did a study called How Do I Love Thee? Let Me Count the Words. And they found that couples who journaled for 20 minutes a day about one positive experience they had during the day were 50% more likely to stay together after 3 months, which is a really long time at a university campus. That's a really long relationship. And why does this work? Why does journaling at the end of the day for 20 minutes help you be happier? Because your mind has no Google Maps system in it. It's got no GPS. You don't actually know where you are. When you are journaling about the coffee that your friend brought you during the day, you are there again. You are reliving that experience. And when you're reading your own journal, you're reliving it a 3rd time. You get a tripling effect on the net positive thing that happened to you just by writing it down. Number 3. 5 random acts. Professor Sonia Lyubomirsky at Stanford University had students perform or commit 5 random acts of kindness over the course of a week. We don't often think about buying a coffee for the security guard at our building, you know, but if you do it, you feel better about yourself. You're like, I'm the coffee buying guy. I'm the door holder opener. You feel great about who you are, and your happiness shoots up. Number 4 is meditation. We all know the studies. Massachusetts General Hospital researchers found that if you close your eyes and do a few minutes of deep breathing, you increase the activity in the prefrontal cortex of your brain, that responsible for focus and attention. For me, I always found meditation so difficult. I was thinking about going to the basement, shutting off the lights, turning up the music. I just couldn't get into it. But my wife Leslie downloaded the Headspace app, which I have no affiliation with personally, but now we have a little splitter. And when the baby goes to sleep, we do a guided meditation together. It makes it really accessible. We even made the big financial commitment to subscribe for like a couple bucks a month, which was a big conversation before we did that. But it makes meditation accessible to us, and we just know it makes us happier. If we've done none of the other things during the day, hey, we can do a 10-minute guided meditation before we go to bed. And the last one I'll give you is 5 gratitudes. 5 gratitudes. Professors Emmons and McCullough actually asked students to perform and write down 5 things that they were grateful for, or 5 events that happened during the week, or 5 hassles. Over a 10-week period, as you can imagine, the people that wrote down 5 things they were grateful for a week were much happier. I was actually doing a speech the other day, and a woman put up her hand. She said, hey, I think I'm doing that at home, but I'm not sure. Can you tell me? You see, my husband's a grouch, and I got 3 teenage boys, so every day at the dinner table, I force them to go around the dinner table and say one good thing that happened during their day. Is that what the study says? And I said, no, not at all. The study is 5 gratitudes a week. If you're doing 5 a day, that's a 7, oh, you guys are better at math than me. I think that's like a 700% increase over the minimum effective dose. The point is 5 is easy. It's just 5 a week. The hard part is writing them down. What do these 5 things do? These are the big 5 super studies. 3 walks, a 20-minute replay, 5 random acts of kindness, meditation, or 5 gratitudes. You do any of those. Pick one. You don't have to do 5. Pick one. For just 20 minutes a day, for 20 days in a row, you've developed a new happiness habit. So, what is the first thing you must do before you can be happy? You must be happy first. You must put happiness at the front of the equation. Invest in it with some of these specific practices and cultivate your own happiness. Secret number 2. The secret to never being too busy again. Has anyone here ever been busy before in their life, laughing? You're like, yeah, this other guy was supposed to come today, and he was too busy to come. You know, and that's the thing. We're all too busy. There is so much busyness in our days. And on top of that, there's these 3 numbers that actually petrify me every single morning. These numbers scare me. Does anybody know what they are? 147. A couple people shaking their head. This is the average number of emails we get a day. 147. I know what you're thinking. Some people are like, I get way more than that. It's the average. My mom gets 6. You might get 300. Okay? 150.
Dunbar's number.
Time to check your phone.
Number of times you check your phone. That is correct. Some studies actually say it's once every 4 minutes now, or 150 times a day. But the good news is 3 times you check your phone, there's nothing there. The other 147 times, you got someone waiting for you, okay? At the end of this talk, you'll have like 18 emails, you know what I mean? Okay, cool. This number scares me the most. 295, based on my own personal research, average number of decisions people are making a day. Average number of decisions people make a day. You know, decision-making energy is a finite resource. We don't have an unlimited supply of it. As we're using it, we don't feel like we're using it. You go to the grocery store, you pick between 20 kinds of salsa, 30 kinds of potato chips. There used to only be like 1 kind of egg. Now there's like 12 kinds of eggs. You pick between all that stuff, you get to the front, your decision-making energy is gone. There's only 2 ways to replenish it. Number 1 is sleep. Tough place to take a nap, in front of the grocery store. Number 2 is glucose, or anything that turns into glucose in your body. Hence there being a huge display of candy bars right at the front of the store. That's exactly why they're there. My wife and I, we did a wedding registry before we got married. Has anyone ever had that experience? You go to the store, you're super excited. You get the Telzon gun. You're like, yeah, honey, this is great. We don't have to pay for anything. Do you want yellow bowls or blue bowls? Shiny ones or matte? Tall glasses or short ones? 12 of them or 8? By the end of the day, you are exhausted. You are drained. The lady came up to us. Our eyes were glassed over. She's like, I got a $300 ice bucket you'll love. We're like, great. We've never used it. We never will use it. The point is we didn't need it. Our decision-making energy was down. And when we have no decision-making energy left, we do one of 2 things. We either make no decision or we make a bad decision. Those are the only 2 options left. No wonder we're so busy. We've got too much going on. When I did this study on myself, I found I was making 50 decisions on just food every day. 30 decisions on my commute. Which way am I going to go? So, what did I do to write this letter for my son? Well, I ended up saying, you know what, I've been lucky. I got access to some of these people. I'm working for some big shots. I got access to some other speakers. I interviewed them. I asked them, you probably have a lot of decisions in your life. What do you do to simplify them? What do you do to streamline them? Is there a practice, a technique, anything? I took the answers of all those interviews and I drew them into one big box. That's not very big. Let's draw it a little bit bigger. I drew it into a box. And this box is, here we go. On one axis, it's time. Okay? So we got a high amount of time it takes to make a decision or a low amount of time. And on the other axis, it is importance. Like it's not very important or it's a big deal. Every decision goes somewhere in this box. You can imagine that. So what do you do with the low time, low importance decisions? You guys are great at this already at Google. We can all get a little bit better. But the solution, and what these people were doing, these successful people, is they were automating those decisions. Anything that's low time, low importance, you automate it. You automate it. So now I make 0 decisions on my way to work. Why? Because I use your app, Waze, and I just follow it. If it tells me to go down a back alley, I listen. I don't pay attention anymore. Woman said to me, you know what? I do double dinners. You guys get food here, I know, but she just makes twice and takes the leftovers for lunch. People have consumables. My friend Chad has consumables, everything delivered to his house from Amazon. Yeah, it's easy for the yogurt and for the salsa and for the milk and stuff. He's got his towels coming in. Once a year, he gets a new face towel. Everything is just automated. How many decisions can you eliminate by saying, I want to automate that in my life? Bill payments is a classic example. So, what do you do with the decisions that are not very important, but they take forever? Like the 147 emails you get. The solution, of course, there is to regulate them. Simply fence them off into a part of your life where you can manage them better. I have a friend that wrote a book on productivity. He answers all his emails between 3 and 4 p.m. He said to me, people that email me in the morning, they get an answer. Comes after lunch. People that email me at 4, 5, 6 p.m., they get an answer. They aren't expecting one until the next day, and they give it to them. He's just reasoned that 1 hour works best for him to regulate. My wife and I, we live at 250 on the street in Toronto, 250. We have an old house, small house, and every day or two something goes wrong with it. A door is squeaky and needs grease. Someone's got to shovel something. There's just always something wrong. It was bogging us down when we first moved in. But then on the inside of one of our kitchen cupboards, we made a little chart called 250 day. Anytime something's wrong, we just write it down on that chart. We set a recurring meeting between the two of us the first Saturday of every month from 9 to 12, 250 day. And you know what we do that day? We just go to that list and do all the chores. We've just regulated it into once a month for 3 hours, and we do a chores blitz that day. We fix everything in our house, rather than mentally thinking about it throughout all of our time. What do you do with the super important stuff that doesn't take very long? Like picking your kids up from daycare, like saying hi to your team in the morning. Some of this stuff you just got to do. That's why that word is effectuate. It's a big word with a small meaning. It just means get her done. Just do it. The beautiful thing about this model is that if you actually automate, regulate, and effectuate all of these decisions, guess what? Your brain actually finally has time to debate the big ones, to actually think about the where am I going to live, who am I going to be with, what am I going to do, the big heavy problems actually weighing you down. You finally make room for them. Now they're ugly and you got to tackle them. But the point is, you created space. So what's the secret to never being too busy again? It is to create space in your life. And this model is one tool that I found that helps. Secret number 3. Secret number 3. The secret to turning your biggest fear into your biggest success. I'm embarrassed to admit this, especially because we're filming this, and so it's going to be on YouTube forever. But I'll say it right now, for the first time. I didn't know how to swim at all in my early 30s. Okay, I'm 36 now. And why did I know how to swim? My sister could swim and everything. It's because I had ear infections my whole childhood. So I had tubes in my ears my whole childhood. And I had a traumatic experience on top of all that, when I fell into the pool and I couldn't swim. So I can almost still see it today. And so that's fine, because you know what? Who cares? I didn't need to swim. I live in Toronto. There's no ocean. I'm good. I wouldn't even bring my bathing suit to the pool party. My friends would want to go swimming at university. I hang up by the treadmill. No problem. I eliminated swimming from my life. You see, I didn't think I can do it. I didn't think I had the capability to do it. And I certainly didn't want to do it. I had no motivation. So I never did it. And that's how we think about anything, right? You got to have the capability, then the motivation, and then you have the action. I never got to do because these things were never going to happen. All that changed on my second date with Leslie when she said to me over dinner one night, "So, do you like swimming?" And I was thinking to myself, uh-oh, play it cool, Pasricha. You don't want to scare her off. And I said to her, "Nah, play it cool." "No, I'm not really a big fan." She says, "That's too bad. You see, my family's had a cottage on an island for generations. And there's 20 of us up there the whole summer. My 80-year-old grandparents, my 5-year-old cousins. We get up every morning in the summer, jump into the lake, and swim around the island. It takes about half an hour. Man, I guess you can't come. Suddenly that night, without thinking about whether I can do it, or whether I want to do it, I just did it. I signed up for adult learn to swim classes at the City of Toronto downtown pool. And I don't know how many people here have seen the downtown City of Toronto pool. This isn't a recommended thing to do. It's like, right in the urban center of the city. I'm like getting my life jacket, the goggles, whole thing. I'm walking onto the pool deck that first Wednesday night. My heart is beating louder than it had in years. I was so nervous. But you know what happened when I walked in on that pool deck, Rachel? I get out there, and you know who's out there? A whole bunch of people who suck at swimming. For once, I'm not the only one. People are from landlocked countries. They had more traumatic experiences than me. Trust formed very quickly. So we get into the shallow end with the flutter board, the life jacket, the goggles, and within 5 minutes of doing that, where I could touch the bottom, I was like, hey, wait a minute. I can do that. Like that's not hard. I can do that. And then you know what? The next week, I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it because I was like, well, I kind of thought I could do it now. And so the next week, I was like flutter kicking in the deep end. The week after, flutter kicking with no life jacket. By the end of the 8 weeks, I was in the front crawl. The thing I realized is that motivation doesn't actually lead to action like we all think. Action leads to motivation. It's completely flipped. You want to write that novel? You don't need the perfect coffee shop, the right idea, and an expensive moleskin. Just write one sentence with a pen from the hotel on a Post-it note. Just doing that will tell you that you can do it, and then you'll want to do it. You want to run a marathon? Forget the good shoes, the right playlist, and the running buddy. Forget it. Just run to the stop sign in your dress shoes. By the time you do that, you're like, I can do that. And then you think you can do it, and then you'll want to do it. It's the exact opposite. It's the exact opposite. Don't just take it from me. You guys are scientists. You probably trust someone like Isaac Newton. He's the greatest physicist of all time, after all. I mean, up there with Einstein. The guy discovered gravity, invented calculus. Pretty good resume. He'd probably be hired at Google these days. And he actually said in his first law of motion, I can remember like grade 10 science, an object in motion will remain in motion unless acted upon by an equal or greater force. Put another way, if you start doing it, if you place action first, you'll continue. It's harder to stop. And that's why at the end of my adult learn to swim classes, I signed up again. And I signed up again, and I signed up again. And it was the same exact class. I didn't go to Learn to Swim 2. I just did Learn to Swim 1. I'm like, I love this. It's amazing. I could do the front crawl. I loved it so much. I just kept doing it over and over again. It is easier. It is easier to act yourself into a new way of thinking than to think yourself into a new way of acting. Our brains are often the enemy. How do you do it? How do you make your biggest fear into your biggest success? You just do it. You put action first. We all know Nike's slogan, just do it. What you probably don't know is that Nike was an $800 million company with low 20% market share when they came up with this slogan. Then they struck a nerve deep inside of us, something we all believe is true. You know what? On the heels of the slogan, $10 billion company, 50-60% market share. That's over the lifetime of using the slogan. We can remember the ad. They jazzed you up. You're like, I can do that. Just get out there and do it. And it works. It works. So all of these three are 3 of the 9 secrets I have in my new book, The Happiness Equation. I've tried to give you light, simple, summarized versions, of course, without all the stories that I have in the book or the psychology studies that are supporting them. But what I hope that they share is the idea that all of us have the option of being slightly happier people, and together that creates a happier organization. So thank you very much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Great. So we'll do some question and answer if anyone has questions in the room.
Yes, I'd love to take questions.
So this is kind of tongue-in-cheek, but it's also serious. Are you happy?
Thank you for the question. The question for those in here is, are you happy? First of all, happiness is a choice, and it's a practice. And I really want to emphasize the second word. My view is that happiness can only be experienced, of course, if you have the other elements of life to feel it against. Right now, I'm on a book tour. That makes me happy. But you know who I wrote the book for? My son. He's at home thousands of miles away in Toronto with my wife who's pregnant with our second. So it's hard to feel happy when I miss them so much and I'm Skyping in to eat breakfast together. You know, I'm trying my best. I wrote a letter for every single day I'm away with a little present he opens every day. My wife had little letters in my suitcase that I can open when I feel lonely or when I miss them. So we're trying to keep connected. We're doing our exercise. We do rose, thorn, bud every night. A rose from our day, a thorn from our day, so gratitude, something that went wrong, and a bud, or something we're looking forward to. So we do it now over voice recording, we text it back and forth. But these are all things we've created because it's hard for me to be happy when I'm missing people I love the most and I'm away from them for weeks. So as a practice, I'm getting there, but it's always a daily, it's always something I work on every day. I'm not uniformly happy. I'm not an internal optimist who just wakes up and flips a switch. I do these practices that I'm recommending. I think about them. I'm conscious of them. I did a meditation this morning before coming here, and I'm working on it. That's the fair answer.
I found for me that really happiness is about how I choose my goals.
Yes.
And like choosing the right goals for me.
Yeah.
So society, parents, what advertising all proposes lots of goals. Books propose lots of goals.
Yeah.
So choosing the right goals, I think, is really paramount in being happy. And I wonder if you could talk more about that.
Sure. Sure. The second secret in my book is called The 4 Simple Words That Block All Criticism. I'm really talking about doing what you love, and the 4 words are do it for you. In it, I share a number of studies, some of which you may already know, about extrinsic versus intrinsic motivators. Studies actually show, when they ask girls, for example, to tutor another girl in the piano, and they're told, hey, you're going to teach her the piano. It's going to feel great. Well, they do a great job. When they're told, you teach her the piano for half an hour, and then you get a ticket to go to the movies for free, well, they get frustrated. They sort of lose faith, and then the half an hour's over, they bolt, whether they've learned it or not. The point is, extrinsic motivators actually mentally block our intrinsic motivators. We can't see our original reasons for doing them. You know why I started writing 1,000 Awesome Things? To cheer myself up. I'll write 1,000 awesome things. That's cool. Then I started noticing the blog counter. 50 hits. I'll try to get 50,000. Oh, that was easy. I'll try to get 1 million. I'll submit it to Fark and Dig and Reddit. I'll just keep cranking on this thing. Oh, well, nothing. That's not monetizing. I need to have a book. Oh, it's got to be a bestseller, the 0.01%. Otherwise, it doesn't count. Oh, it's only been a bestseller for 1 week. I got to get it on the New York Times bestseller list. Oh, it's got to be a bestseller for 200 weeks. Otherwise, it's like, I'm not going to make any money off it if it doesn't do that. I became obsessed. Drove myself into the ground, sleeping 3 hours a night. I'm buying eye makeup because I'm embarrassed to go to work with black bags under my eyes. I lost my intrinsic reasons for doing it, and I stopped writing because I was setting goals and just achieving them, and they never ended. So we need to remember to do it for us. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, the hardest thing to do in the world is to be yourself in a world that's constantly trying to make you something else. And I think I butchered the quote, but it's pretty close to that. And that's the point. How do you do it for you? Especially when everything you do has a performance evaluation and a paycheck attached to it. You have to get away from that somehow. You've got to find your intrinsic reasons. You've got to write those down, and you've got to make sure everything you're doing is for those intrinsic reasons. Advice is always going to conflict. You can't take what other people say. The pen is mightier than the sword. Actions speak louder than words. Every single cliche conflicts. Ultimately, you have to listen to yourself, and that's the hardest thing to do. In the book, on Secret Number 8, I have 3 tests to find your authentic self. Tests that I perform on myself every 6 months. How did I do in the lake? You know what? I did it. And you know what I found? I did it with a life jacket, because when I jumped in that lake, first of all, there was something that there wasn't in the pool. It's called waves. I didn't account for that in my training. So it was harder for me to swim in the lake. There was wind in the lake and a bit of a current almost. So I did it with a life jacket, which I couldn't have done before. And I felt very proud of it, because then I thought, I can do this. And then it was a couple summers ago, I did it more than once. I jumped in the lake and went around. It was just that mental barrier was erased because I put action in front of motivation. It's the hardest thing to do. Thanks for asking. Yes. How do you set expectations that are high enough that they're difficult to achieve, but low enough that they're achievable? And how does that fit into your internal motivations? You know what? We're going to blow ourselves up in society. We are. We got a problem. We used to live in a culture called the culture of enough. We probably don't remember that. It's before most of us were born. It was the 250,000 years of our species history up until the early 1900s. It's called the culture of enough. You need enough food to eat. You need enough of a house to live under. You need enough. And then at the turn of the century, 3 things happened. Number 1, mass production made fridges and washing machines and these things that came into our houses that actually increased our time. Now we could want more because we could do more. We had more time. And the other interesting invention that happened was radios. Radios were the first time advertisements ever entered the home. So now we were trained to desire more. Paul Mazur, Lehman Brothers, 1927 in the Harvard Business Review wrote, "We must move society from a needs to a wants culture." Today, we live in the culture of more, from the old culture of enough. Pop Moman from San Diego was one of the first people to put his finger on that. He moved to New York. It was a successful cartoonist, moved to a rich neighborhood, and thought, I'm surrounded by people who all have more than me. So he started to write a cartoon. He moved down to Manhattan, which was a poor area at the time, and started a cartoon called Keeping Up with the Joneses. He made up that phrase. It was called Keeping Up with the Smiths originally, but it didn't roll very well. That cartoon published syndication for over 20 years. In the book, I have the very first comic of that cartoon. It's old enough that we were able to put it in the book. And so in this culture we live in, one of more, it's risky. It's risky. Goals and expectation are in the context of a society that always wants more of us. Our employers want more of us. Our relationships want more of us. We want everything to be perfect. My wife tells a great story where she talked to her great-grandmother when she was over 100 years old, just maybe a year before she died. And she said, "Great-grandma, how am I going to find a man who makes enough money, is really funny, is good looking, has a great job, is really compassionate, and loves me?" And the woman couldn't stop laughing. She was like, "That doesn't exist. You find 1 or 2. You look for the rest elsewhere." Today in society, we want everything from everybody all the time. It's scary. It's scary. And so the solution I propose is remembering 3 words. And those words are, remember the lottery. Remember the lottery. Remember that we've already won. What do I mean by that? There's 7 billion people in the world today, okay? There are 115 billion people who have ever lived, ever. That means by being alive today, you have already won a lottery. 1 in 15 people are alive. 14 out of every 15 people will never eat a bowl of chocolate ice cream, kiss their kids goodnight, see another sunset, or be in a kitchen with a group of friends singing happy birthday to them ever again. You already won the lottery by being alive. And the United Nations World Happiness Report is coming out March 20th. Guess what? This country's going to be near the top again, as it is every year. So are probably most people that have the time or availability to watch this, or the people listening in. I'm from Canada. We're always in the top 5. Us and our Scandinavian brothers and sisters, you know, we already got it good. If you have a post-secondary education, you're one of 7% in the world who does. If you make more than $5,000 a year, you're above the world average. If you make more than $50,000, you're in the top 0.05% already. You know the 1%? It's all of us. Everyone, North America. You know, you won the lottery. And if you need even more motivation than that, Google the image pale blue dot and see the Earth from a distance in the vast expanses of the universe. And remember, this is the only place you could ever be alive. We got to be here at the perfect time, in the perfect place, with the perfect amount of oxygen and water to support our lives, and we're alive. We have all those things going for us. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to join me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Thanks.